What's your favorite quote from a non-famous person? Bring the guacamole. My friend was tired of there not being guacamole at parties, despite having salsa and cheese sauce available for chips. So another friend told him to bring it himself. It was like a rural version of Be the Change You Want to See in the World. But the guacamole version really stuck with me. If you want guacamole, don't complain someone else isn't bringing it. Just bring it yourself. My mom. Every bad decision I've ever made in life was out of fear. At those times in your life when things are so bad, or so confusing, or so overwhelming that you just don't know what to do with yourself, sometimes all you can do is just wash the dishes. What this means to me is that the practicalities of life will always be there whether I feel like I'm succeeding at life or not. And instead of giving into defeat or maudlin self-pity, there is great therapeutic value in putting the things I can do nothing about in that moment aside and just doing something productive with myself. It's both a welcome distraction and very restorative feeling of accomplishment to be able to look at what I have accomplished when it felt like I couldn't do anything right. It's one thing not to care what others think. It's another not to own a mirror. Come on, you can always take one more step. A lieutenant said it to me when I was doing basic infantry training. He literally meant it in the sense that I should keep running, in full gear in burning hot sun after several days with little to no sleep. But I have taken the saying with me and I now use it for when things are going badly and I need some motivation. People who say they are brutally honest tend to care more about being brutal than being honest. I don't know if I picked it up from somewhere or what, but I always say, the answer will always be no unless you ask. Living by that has really paid off in big ways. You can't reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. I've read this one here on Reddit, but it's a pretty good quote. And apparently, the guy who posted the quote actually came up with it. A loose cannon eventually points your way. You don't have to like the whole buffet, my dad, on whether you had to agree 100% with a politician to vote for them. Marcus Parks, mental illness is not your fault, but it's your responsibility. Beware of people who say keep your friends close and your enemies closer, because you'll never know which you are until it's too late. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future, something my dad said that has always stuck with me. Confidence is food to the wise, but liquor to the fool. Vikram. I still use this quote all the time. Two things I can't fix are dead and stupid, so don't wake me up for either of them. Also, like you can't spend yourself. Rich people like to say they want to earn $1 million. No, they really mean they want to spend $1 million. You work a job for security and income, not friends. Trust me, you can dance. Vodka. The reason why you find everything in the last place you look, is because you don't keep looking for it once you've found it. Never turn down anything that's given to you, even if you have to throw it in the ditch on the way home. My paternal grandma. You don't like me? F you, my kids like me. Jim King, a mentor of mine. Don't waste your one phone call on me, Dad. Never break more than one law at a time, Grandpa. My grandfather. What people think about me is their business. What does it say about our society that we have nothing better to do than to get so wasted we can't remember what we did to have fun? My high school band director on using drugs and alcohol. Back in my baseball playing days, after we won a game against the league leaders after they committed a few errors, one of the guys on the opposing team came up to us while we were celebrating, saying that we'd won ugly, how it was an ugly win, all that jive. Our pitcher answered with, "So what? They don't give style points in baseball. Today you, tomorrow me." If you're gonna make a mistake, make it a good one. My high school band director, in the context of music, he always just meant it to be confident, even if you aren't totally sure you're right. If you start playing your part a bit too early, at least make it a clean entrance. Play the wrong note? It better still be in tune. But beyond music, I've still applied that quote to other aspects of my life. Even if I'm not sure that I'm doing something right, I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. My wife: don't bark at people's dogs, they don't like that. Fellow worker: don't worry about him, it's the smart ones you have to worry about. There is not a moment of clarity quite as pure as the one you get mid-fall. My girlfriend: I guess this is the hard part in our lives, where we have to prove to the world that we deserve a place in it. Somebody on Reddit told a story and their mom said, "Let go or be dragged." In regards to a relationship that went sour, this would have changed my life if I heard it 10 years earlier. "I didn't fart, my ass blew you a kiss because it heard you were talking as." My best friend's mom shouted this to her across the table at breakfast when they got into an argument. My uncle, who had just committed suicide the other day. The Bible in a nutshell. Just don't be a douchebag, man. He was a cool guy. I told my dad I'd been smoking cigarettes. He's 64 with emphysema from smoking for 40 years. I thought he'd give me some health reasons to stop. Instead he says, "You idiot, smoking is how they enslaved poor people. Haven't smoked since." People with AirPods can't afford the wire. Former boss, Andre Levesque: when in doubt, be unreasonable. Second favorite quote from the same guy: in all my years, nobody has ever called me a bitch. You're fired. That was the first of 7 times he fired me. I like this anonymous pit boss in Vegas who said, "Show me a happy loser and I will show you an idiot." Do the right thing, no matter what the cost. You can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. Some people are comfortable in whatever situation they are in, despite what comes out of their mouths. Is that awkward? Great. Awkwardness is a sign you're building a new skill. Keep practicing it until it comes naturally. Paraphrase from Chris Voss's masterclass video on negotiation. Second mouse gets the cheese. Killing them softly. America is not a country, it's just a business. Now effing pay me. Truer words haven't been spoken. My 4th grade, 1959 teacher, Esther Farens: the more you know, the more you know you don't know. It didn't make sense at the time, but now I know that she was so right. You're only happy with what you see in front of you. There's so much more to see. This hoity-toity rich girl from overseas. She was right though, there was so much more to see. Without us, you do boring stuff. With us, you do boring stuff too, but it's awesome because I'm here. Hey, let you and me play a game. It's called F Off. Pretty self-explanatory. You go first, unknown. One way to get by in life is to never let anyone know who you really are. My old bio professor. He was talking about mimicry in the animal kingdom, but I took it to heart. If you can barely afford it, you can't afford it. Reader from years back. I've taken it to heart since I've read that line. It doesn't hurt that someone is helping you, unless, in the first place, You are worried about needing help. A friend that was in wheelchair. Failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency unknown. My Air Force commander. It's not great, but it's not terrible. A 3.5-year-old regarding her attempts at learning to write her letters. It has become my life motto. Don't judge someone by what others say about them. Judge them by what they say about others. Me, 2018. 10% of life is showing up, and the other 90% is knowing when to leave his head. It's only money, you can't take it with you. My dad. My response: yeah, but you can leave it to your son in your will. An 8-year-old, you get what you get and you don't get upset. Don't ever let people disrespect your work. Grandfather, if you work for nothing, you'll be kept employed. My mom once said, if you can't change the world, change yourself. Knowledge is knowing, and wisdom is being able to apply what you know. I knew a lot of men who worked with me who were communists, and they were all very nice, earnest, and friendly men. No one becomes a communist because he hates America. He becomes a communist because he can't feed his family. During an oral history interview, my grandfather was explaining to me about his time working for Lockheed during WWII, and why he hated Joseph McCarthy so effing much. You've never lived life until you've walked around with a broadsword on your waist yelling, "More ale, wench, Chef Bob," in reference to the Renaissance Fair. Laughter is contagious, so if I have to laugh at nothing, to get you to laugh at something, then I'm doing the right thing. In my book, JFG, Small-Time YouTuber. Life is not a question. There does not need to be an answer. Corvax, cartographer. Human nature is one of the most profound mysteries in scientific history. The very thing that makes us human is something that we don't even understand. Me. Peacekeeping is the process of dragging the war out to its longest possible duration. A guy on Usenet, many years ago. My grandma used to say, if you want to be happy, lose all shame. A former coworker, Harold Wilson, once reminded me that the sun is always shining even when it's a cloudy and rainy day. In other words, the good things in life are usually still there even if they're sometimes hidden behind the bad. It's so very wrong, but if you can handle not being insulted, it's funny too. My 80-year-old stepfather, you can't rehabilitate a queer. He got really confused as I said a gay coworker had been sent to rehab for drug use. But he missed that part I guess and just started shouting this. Gay is gay all the way. It's only quiet because the trees aren't talking. Home is where the pants aren't. Mike. MEW. My cat socks. Sometimes when things aren't working out they actually are working out. I came up with that about 10 years ago after a crap relationship and a crap time in life, which ultimately led me to the best stuff in life. Recently my friend quoted it back to me. That was nice. My father-in-law, stupid fixes itself. Those are words I live by. My friend said age is just a number and jail is just a place. My mom, who's a lawyer, said, "Me, when you grow up you'll find most people are extremely stubborn and stupid." That has been the most useful quote in my life. I overheard a college kid giving an interview in Trump and he says, "Would you give Mussolini a chance?" If you aren't getting better at something, you're getting worse at it. My high school band director, I think about it a lot and it motivates me to keep up my skills instead of letting them slip away. Kids, You spend the first 3 years teaching them to walk and talk, then you spend the next 18 telling them to shut the F up. My dad. If it can be paid with money, it's cheap. My friend once said bulk oysters. What could go wrong? She got food poisoning. My friend who passed away. Nothing is impossible to men. If they can't do something, they just do something else. My social studies teacher, do what's right because it's the right thing to do. It was so hard, I just wish it was harder. This was something someone had about an abortion they regretted. I'm not here to debate abortion. My views don't even align with this quote since I'm pro-choice. It just had such an impact tbh. In response to other students saying I didn't have time to do the homework, a math teacher said, "You're not being given time to do homework, you're taking time to do it." It just stuck with me, because he's right. The point is to take control of our own time since noon controls it or give it to us. Myself, I say stupid stuff to sound smart. I'm not gonna tell you that nothing's impossible. That's a lie. There are things that are impossible. Things that can't happen. Things that the laws of physics are conspiring against. I'd like for you to understand that fact, and I'd also like for you to ignore it. There's no situation where you can look at something you want to do and really, definitively say to yourself, that's impossible. If you really believe that something is impossible, prove it. Show the world just how impossible it is by giving your all to make it reality. Maybe along the way, you'll find out you were wrong, and do the impossible. And if you find out you were right, so what? Even if you jump for the stars and miss, you're still gonna land on the moon. GameChamp 3000, a small but underrated YouTuber who makes content about random video games. Shit, I'm out of grease. Hand me the butter. My mom told me when I was being bullied in school that, if someone claims they don't care about you and talks ass about you, they're obviously lying. Celebrating your birthday is just celebrating you're 1 year closer to death. The world didn't get worse, homie, your eyes got wider. A YouTube comment. I don't remember what video, but I think about this a lot. Your decisions will end up determining your worth, Dad. My late father. If I live, I live. If I die, I die. That's life in the big city. He died. My college friend said this as an expletive once. F me gently with a chainsaw. Really painted a picture, you know? Complex, you can't even punch a pillow without crying. A friend's response to me threatening to beat up their bully. Bread is like chips, but without the hurt. My BFF's fiancé. Screw the one. My friend. So basically we were in math class and we kept on getting questions like, what is the sum of the digits of the product of 1x2 x3, x99 x100? So one of my friends were just like, screw the one. I still say that when I just mean take out the unneeded stuff. Don't be a dummy, shoot it on her tummy. For me it started gay and ended black woman, random deleted Reddit user. My professor once told me, to steal from one is plagiarism, to steal from many is art. I've taken it to heart. From my English professor, to love is the most radical thing you can do, because the world doesn't allow it. Can you die from eating raw bread? The Wound Care team's motto is, holy, holy, holy. Masterpiece takes sacrifice, my girlfriend said after cutting her hand with a pencil while sketching something. You have to live a nightmare before you can dream. Forgot who said it. Back porch conversations with my mama, read in a hillbilly accent, which I have too, lol, just not to the extent that she does. For some context, we were talking about women being independent in mama's time back in the day. Lol, my mama. I heard them housewives last night on the TV talking about needing a man to bring the D over. It was my first time watching the show and they were in the kitchen, I guess fixin' to start baking. When I was their age, if I had relied on your granddad for milk and didn't have a cow out in the barn, at that point, I'm unable to control my laughter and I tell her, "Mama, that's not the D they were talking about, it's not vitamin D milk." Face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Not my chair, not my problem. When my grandma was getting towards the end and dealing with serious dementia, it had been like 3 days since she had bathed. As my mom was trying to convince her she needed to, she looked her dead in the eyes and said, "The cowboys and Indians didn't have to take baths, and I don't either. My career is really important to me, but there have to be other great important things in your life besides work." Katherine Heigl. Every parent, I brought you into this world, and I can take you out of it. Buck up, you puss. I hit a game-winning three-pointer back in my high school days. Started celebrating exuberantly, and amidst that the defender who I'd made the shot over gave me a pat and said, "Nice shot, but act like you've been there before, huh?" And then he walked off. I've always remembered that, and took it to heart as a lesson in remaining calm through the highs of life, not just the lows, and to carry yourself with decorum. Much respect to that man, wherever he is now. I have no sympathy for fat people who self-identify as healthy, then complain about sweating doing up their shoelaces. My 8th grade history teacher had one rule in the class: act and speak appropriately. His example was that there's a time and a place for both whispering and for yelling and throwing a desk. You wouldn't yell and throw a desk while taking a test, you'd whisper if you needed something clarified. However, if a creep is shooting up the school, by all means throw a desk at the mother fur. The risk I took was calculate, but man, I'm bad at math. A bird meme. Trying's all we can do. The best animals are the human ones. Jeff. I had a quote book at school from year 11-13, where I just note down anything that any student or teacher said. Some of my favorites: I'm a pretty small guy so I can fit in a closet quite easily. You can't call yourself a man if you go around taking other people's cookies. We're not bullying you. We're just aggressively pointing out your flaws. Do you think OMPA Loompas would be good at fighting? What the F? Fly the duck. Random passenger on a flight my dad heard when he worked for an airline company with a bird symbol. Phoebe, stop eating my train tickets. All we do is smoke weed and not give a F. My little brother was about to jump off the roof of our shed and my mom came out worried, telling him to get down, and said, "If you do that you could die," and his response was to look he dead in the eyes and say, "But I might not," and jump off the damn shed. He was fine, and that quote sums up my brother's entire personality. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to hear more of the best posts.